I've closed over $3 million in assignment fees tracking these simple metrics. And today, what I'm going to be going over is not only the metrics that you need to track, but also how to solve constraints inside of your business so you could scale quickly and predictably. I've never shared this with anybody before. This is just a portion of our goal versus actual that we share with our advanced inner circle students. And I'm going to be going over what we do when we onboard people, the metrics that we need to track, kind of what the sheet looks like, not the entire thing, but a little portion of it. And then how to solve constraints inside of your business so that way you can continue to get predictable revenue. So this is the document. So what I'll do is when I onboard somebody or when I'm looking at a new company, the same thing I do for my company is I'll look at how many total leads, qualified leads, opportunities, appointments, all the way through revenue, spend. I look at ROAS, cost per deal, and I'm able to get a bunch of data from just these numbers. So let's say, for example, I had 1,000 leads. Last quarter, I had 1,000 leads. Let's say I had 800 qualified leads, meaning this is somebody that I spoke to. They are a verified seller. They do want to sell at any time. Then I want to track how many of those actually were qualified for an appointment, meaning that they were going to sell in the next 90 days. They had true motivation. This is somebody that I want to make an offer on. So let's say, for example, let's use 60% of that. So 60% of 800 is roughly 480. Okay. Let's say we made offers on 450 of those. Let's say, or we set appointments on 450 of those. We made 450 offers. And then we got our contract was roughly 135 contracts. And let's roll with a 75% contract to close, which is roughly 100. So let's say that these are our metrics. Now, what we want to do is figure out how much did we actually spend. So let's say we spent 150,000 to get those 1,000 leads. And let's say we made roughly $800,000 back. So now that I have this, I can look at what is my cost per lead? What's my cost per contract? What's my cost per closed deal? What's my ROAS? So I can see my ROAS right here is a 5.3, and roughly every 10 leads becomes a deal. So now I have these metrics. So what does this data actually tell me, and what do I do with it? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do my quarterly planning. When I know my data, I know that these are my numbers. I know that what I did in the past is likely a predictor of what I'm going to do in the future, unless I change something big. So obviously, if I invest in sales training and I go through the process, my close rate's going to go up. If I change marketing channels from cold call to PPC, my total lead to deal is going to decrease. I know these things based on other people's data. And that's part of the advantage of being in a mastermind where you can see other people's data, or being in like an inner circle where you can see what is the industry average, what are other people doing, so I know what to shoot for. So once I have that, I can make predictions. And so what I'll do is I'll say, okay, I need 1,000 leads a quarter, which means I need roughly 333 leads a month. Now, 333 leads a month divided by 31 means I need roughly 10 leads per day. And so what I'll do is I'll talk to my marketing team and I'll say, hey guys, we need 10 leads a day at roughly $150 per lead. So we need to be spending about $1,611 per day in order to hit our goal. Now, these are maybe some larger numbers. Some of you guys might be spending like closer to $100 a day, maybe $1,000 a day if you're spending about 30 grand a month, but the principles are still the same. Now, once I have my targets, hey, this is what I'm trying to hit for the quarter. Every single week, all I'm going to do, I'm going to share this screen again. All I'm going to do is I can say, okay, if I want to do this every quarter, I can copy and paste this and I could say, I need to do per week, 1,000 divided by 12. There's roughly 12 weeks in a quarter, right? And then I could just drop that down. And so now what I'm going to do is I could say, okay, so these are my weekly targets of what I'm going to hit. And every week I'm meeting with my team and I'm saying, okay, did we hit our lead goal? Did we hit our qualified lead goal? Did we hit our appointments goal? Did we hit our offers goal? Now, let's say that this number starts to slip. Let's say we're at 80% lead to qualified, but our opportunities, our appointments set to offers starts to dip. So we have a ton of appointments that we're booking, but we've only made, let's call it 300 offers on the appointment. So we're at like 67%. Now I want to figure out, how do I solve that problem? So I'm going to give you guys a couple of tips based on not only things that I've seen from my company, but some of our other companies that we coach that are doing 300, 400, 600K a month. And so the first thing is your lead to qualified, meaning how many leads do you get into your CRM versus how many do you actually speak to? When I look at my lead to qualified, the most important thing is speed to lead. And so we have people that work the weekends. We also have people on PST all the way to EST. So we're pretty much covered from 8 a.m. all the way to about 8 p.m. After that, you're calling outside of compliance. So we'll only do it if we text somebody first and they say, yeah, call me. But inside of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., when most people fill out a form, we are getting to all of our leads within 3 minutes. If you are not getting to your leads within 3 minutes, and I'm talking about leads that are coming in on the weekends, leads that are coming in at 7 o'clock, your speed of lead is not good enough, and your lead to qualified is likely going to be pretty bad. And so how you can solve that Number one, you can, if you have like a setter team or you have an acquisitions team, you can have them work different shifts. And so, for example, with our setter team, I'll have somebody starting at 8 a.m. They'll end at 4 p.m. I'll have somebody that starts at noon and then ends at 8 p.m. And then I'll also have somebody working, Tuesday through Saturday. I'll have somebody else working Sunday through Thursday, for example. So everybody has 2 days off, right? You can do the same thing with your acquisitions managers. They're still getting their weekends. Sometimes their weekends on Monday or Tuesday. Sometimes their weekends are their actual weekends. You just want to structure this around your team so that you have full coverage. Now, the most motivated leads typically come in after hours and on weekends. In my experience, that's just how it's been. Like, you'll get investors that are working full time that are scrolling on their phone in the middle of the day. But think about our avatar. Most of the people that we help are blue collar workers. They typically work a 9 to 5, and they're filling this stuff out late at night when all of these other things are coming to light where they're like, hey, I need to change in my life. And if you can call them at that moment, your conversions are going to be much, much better. Speed to lead is one of the first things that we check. The next thing we check is your follow-up cadences. We follow a compliant dialing system where we don't call them 15 times in 3 days. There are a lot of people that teach that. You can get away with it at low scale. Now, I am not recommending that because literally you can and probably will eventually get sued if you continue to do it. So I don't recommend that. And that's not what we do. We follow compliant dialing, which is a 3-2-1 process. 3 times first day, 2 times second day, 1 time day 3 through 14. And when I say 3 times, I'm not triple dialing them. I might do a double dial if their phone goes like straight to voicemail or something. Their phone's on do not disturb. But most of the time I'm calling them. I'm waiting a couple hours. I'm calling them. I'm waiting a couple hours and calling them. My favorite times to call people are 8, 12, and 6. Most of the morning people will answer in the morning. Obviously the evening people will answer in the evening. And some people are going to be at lunch around the noon time frame. So that's when I'm calling my leads. And I want to make sure that they get touched roughly 16 times within 14 days. If you're not calling your leads at least 16 times within the first 14 days, that's probably one of the reasons why your lead to qualified is so low. You're not talking to enough people because you're not following up with them quite enough. Now, if you are calling people 100 times in 14 days, you're probably getting marked as spam. People are blocking your phone number, and you're also going to have a really low lead to qualified. So that's just one thing. And we have an entire document that we give out to our advanced inner circle members that breaks down every single metric. There's like 7 to 8 steps on how to fix every single one. If you're interested in that, you can click the link in the bio. We do calls every single day. We do leadership training, dispo training. We'll train your lead managers, and you can do some one-on-ones with me where I'll look at your business and help you figure out how you can scale it. So I'll drop that in the chat. Now we're going to go over to qualified to appointment, qualified to opportunity or qualified to appointment. Now you don't need to have opportunities unless you're in a CRM like Salesforce. Most CRMs, you can just go straight qualified lead to appointment. If your qualified lead to appointment is low, what that tells me is one of two things. The first thing that it tells me is you are not good at clarifying and probing and getting sellers to create urgency. And so if you're only taking the sellers that are like, I need to sell, I have to sell right away, maybe that you're qualifying them based on asking price. So you're asking them how much they're looking to get. And if it kind of works for you, or it might be close, then you're booking appointments. You're 100% leaving money on the table. So our qualified to appointment, you want to be shooting for about 60% for virtual and about 40% for in-person. In-person is going to be a little bit less. Now, typically you're going to be making more offers on a virtual model, just per lead. You're going to be making more offers. On an in-person model though, you're going to have a higher close rate. You're going to have a higher contract to close. And you're also going to have a higher average deal size. Just in general, I've tested both. I've done virtual and I've done an in-person model. There's not a right or wrong, but the metrics are different. So I'm going to be booking much more appointments because my team doesn't need to get in the car and drive an hour. They just have to take a call. So I'm going to try to push as many of the appointments that meet a MOTA as possible. I'm going to try to push those through. I'm going to be a little bit more lenient, especially my team doesn't have to drive again, like an hour and a half. So that's the first thing, is that when you're looking at your qualified lead to appointment, if it's low, you need to work on your connection, situation, problem awareness phase. You need to learn how to build a gap with a seller to create some urgency. That would be the first thing. The second thing is a really simple way to solve a problem. If your close rates down, your set to appointments down, if you have a team and one person is dragging the metrics down, if you just let them go, all of your other metrics will improve as long as you have the bandwidth. And most of us do. And so like I've had a couple, this happened for me and this has happened for some of my students as well, where they'll have like 4 or 5 setters and they only have 10, 12 leads a day. And you're like, okay, well, one of my setters is at 20% qualified lead to appointment. The rest of them are at 60. So our average is like roughly 50. Well, what would happen happen if I just got rid of that one setter? And the other setters could handle the rest of the leads, still getting to them in time. Well, our qualified lead to appointment would immediately jump to 60%. So it's just an easy decision just to let go of somebody. Same thing when you have one rep that's not performing. If all of your other closers are closing at 30%, you've got one guy closing at 12. And it's not like he just started. Obviously, everybody starts out kind of closing around like the 8 to 12%, but it's not like he just started. He's been there for a while. You just let go of that rep and the other reps can handle their lead flow. Then boom, you just fix that problem right there. So that's our qualified lead to appointment. You want to make sure that you're probing, building enough urgency, and you're getting that commitment that they're going to be there. Now we have appointment set to offer. A lot of you guys would think when you look at your appointment set to offer that the number one metric that's going to matter is the commitment at the end, which is very important. Making sure that you're getting a calendar commitment. The seller is going in and checking off that they're going to be there. You're stress testing it, making sure that nothing's going to come up that's going to cause them to miss that appointment. Those things are important, but it's not as important as this one metric that I've tracked inside of my business that has transformed everything for us. And that's speed to offer. You can do this two ways. If you have a setter closer model from set to offer, if you have just a single closer model, meaning that you're getting the leads, you're doing everything yourself. It's just from the time the lead's created, the time the first contact, from the time you give an offer. So let me show you guys like some examples. If I have one person that gives an offer on the first call every single time, every single opportunity that they talk to, let's say they talk out of 60%, they consider an opportunity, then they are going to be making offers on 480 people because they're doing it on the first call. So this is going to be 100%. This is going to be 100%. And if they're still closing at 30%, I don't know what that number is going to be, but like, let's say roughly they're locking up 150 contracts out of the 480, then they are going to have much better metrics. Then let's give the other example. You have a setter closer model, and the first time the lead comes in, well, now you have to have a lead manager call it. There's going to be a drop off here. Then they book an appointment, right? So this might still be 60%, but you're going to have a no-show rate here. Let's say that your no-show rate's roughly 20%. Now, out of these 480 appointments, you're only going to have, or 480 opportunities, you're only having 384 appointments, right? Now, let's say you call them back to make an offer. You don't make an offer on that call. You're going to have another 20% of people that never even answer. Now you're at 307. So you're at 307 offers made. And let's say you're still closing at roughly 30%. Instead of the 150 contracts, you're going to be at 92 contracts at a 30% close rate. That's why the more steps you put in the way of you being able to get an offer, the more fallout there's going to be. And it's just simply logic. Every time you try to call somebody back, there's a risk of them not answering. So if you can do a one call close process and you have really dialed in closers, your conversions are going to be better than somebody that has the same quality closers, but a setter closer model. Now, obviously, once you get into the in-person model and your team's running, 2 appointments per day, they're not going to have time to actually call their leads and get the speed of leads. So you need to transition into the setter closer model, which is why a wholesaling business is harder to stay as profitable at scale, because you just need to have other staff, right? You need to have somebody answering the phones, booking the appointments. Then your acquisitions guys are just driving out there. So those are just a couple of the things. Now, the other ones are pretty self-explanatory, like your offers made to under contract. If your offers made to under contract is less than 25% in person or 20% virtual, you have a lot of work to do inside of your closing process. And that's assuming all the other metrics are good. Now, what I've seen before is I see people that are like, yeah, my close rate's 40%. And then you look at what percentage of their leads they make offers on, it's like 10%, right? So yeah, your close rate's good. You're only making offers on the laydowns. And so if someone's not in foreclosure, someone's not super motivated, or they're already asking a low price, you just don't offer on them. Of course, your close rate's going to be really, really good, but your ROAS is going to be terrible. Making sure that the first lead measure metrics are good. Now your offer to close is what's important, right? Or your offer to under contract. And so the way that we help people with that, we put them on a sales training calendar. And so if they're under 20%, they're doing sales training every single day. That is a necessity. They have to be doing sales training every single day. We break that out into Mondays, we do role plays, Tuesdays, call reviews. Monday, we role play again. Thursday, we do call reviews again. And Friday, we do objection handling, making sure that they're covering all the basic pillars of sales. We'll obviously cover different things on Monday than we do on Wednesday, but we make sure that our team is 100% dialed in with the sales process until we see them closing at a minimum of 20% virtual, as long as they're getting 60% qualified lead to appointment and they're making offers on all of those. Then I want to see a minimum of a 20% close rate, or we still continue to work with them. Now, that's our offer to contract. The last metric that I have seen a lot lately with people that have been applying for our advanced inner circle and people inside of our school community is contract to close being really, really low. And There's two parts to that. One, you're locking up deals too high because you don't know how to negotiate. That's the main symptom, is you're just locking up deals too high because at the end of the day, some people blame like, oh, well, our market is not that good. We're getting deals that are out in the middle of nowhere. If you lock them up at a good enough price, they're going to sell. People will buy deals anywhere. They will sell as long as you get them at a good price. Now, the next thing is your conversations with the seller between the contract and the close. And so the biggest thing that we've implemented is from contract to close. We call our sellers every single week with an update. If we feel like we're going to do a price reduction, we let them know the first week, hey, just so you know, we haven't been getting good feedback from our investors. We are likely going to sell this property less than we thought. I'm just warning, we're going to continue to work it. We're going to try to continue to push it, but that might be coming. That way, when we do have to do a price drop, we've already set the expectation and they're much more willing to work with us. Same thing with extending the agreement. So you might do a novation and then you realize, okay, well, the seller, I haven't spoken to him in 3 weeks and we're supposed to close next week. Then you call them and you're like, hey, can we get an extension? They're like, no, I haven't even heard from you. But if you're calling them every single week, they're a lot more likely to give you that extension just because you've been open with them. You've been honest with them. You've been communicating with them. And so all of those things combined, you should be able to see a drastic improvement inside of your ROAS, which is the most important metric. This shows you like the health of your business, is your overall return on ad spend, how many leads it takes you to get a deal. And so what we do with our advanced inner circle members is we look at what is their lead to deal at the beginning. And at the end, we want to see that at least get cut in half. So if they're at 50 leads per deal, we want to see 25. If they're at 20, we want to see 10. We're looking to cut that in half by solving these metrics. And so inside of this, there's also other tricks that we use to motivate your team to be able to hit metrics right when you're close. Think about when you're playing football. If you're right there 5 yards from the end zone, you're going to push a lot harder than if you're 50 yards from the end zone, right? So we use these metrics to help create the tempo with our team and push them forward to get faster results. So I hope you guys like this training. I know it's high level for some of you guys that are just starting, but we train people not just getting started, but how to actually grow your business and scaling it. And you need to have these metrics to be able to do so. So if you liked it, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. We're going to be posting new videos just like this every single week. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, everybody.